counting has begun in Zimbabwe as the people head to the polls in the country's first election without the involvement of longtime leader Robert Mugabe. The main contenders in the presidential vote are incumbent Emmerson Mnangagwa of the ruling ZANU-PF party and opposition leader Nelson Chamisa. Parliamentary and local elections have also taken place today. Now, the country's founding president, Robert Mugabe, was ousted last year after almost 4 decades in power.
Zimbabweans began voting early this morning in the first election since the removal of former President Robert Mugabe. In Harare, voting started at 7 a.m. Voters queued from before sunrise ahead of a watershed vote Zimbabweans hope will rid the country of its global pariah status and spark a recovery in its failed economy.
Yeah, it's my first time. Yeah, it's just that we as young people, we're hoping for change. They have no jobs, so we believe that this time we're going to cast our votes. There's going to be a big change.
The election will see 75-year-old President Emmerson Mnangagwa, a longtime Mugabe ally, face 40-year-old Nelson Chamisa, a lawyer and pastor, who is vying to become Zimbabwe's youngest head of state.
I'm happy that both the process for campaigning was peaceful. The voting today is peaceful. I have no doubt that the end process of the entire electoral process will remain peaceful.
We have no doubt that if the ballot is an appropriate one, a genuine one, and not a bastardized or a fake one, victory is certain for the people. The people have spoken, the people are speaking, and it's clear that the vote is a vote for victory, a vote for freedom, a vote for democracy, a vote for a new Zimbabwe.
Robert Mugabe, one of the big men of African politics, still looms large over Zimbabwe, and he may yet influence the first vote without his name on the ballot paper. Yesterday, the 94-year-old says he hopes his former allies in the military government will be voted out of power.
I have also said my Mjuru and my Kupe don't offer very much. So there is Chamisa left.
Voting is expected to end at 7 p.m. If no candidate wins more than half the votes, there will be a runoff election on September the 8th.
To give us an update about the situation in Zimbabwe, our foreign affairs correspondent Amarachi Ubani joins us live from Harare. Glad to have you join us, Amarachi. Now, can you tell us how an election without Mugabe in Zimbabwe looks like? Give us an update of the situation there.
Melinda, this situation is really unreal for many Zimbabweans. It's almost like they're dreaming that they would ever go to the polls and not have Robert Mugabe's name on the ballot. And as you said, he is probably influencing this election without even having his name on the ballot. So there's a lot of excitement today that I noticed, a lot of freedom. There seems to be an air of relief, people, a disbelief that, a day like this could come for Zimbabweans if they could head to the polls and pick who they want so they could vote without fear of being harassed, of being beaten, of, being picked up by the army and, having things done to them. So there's been a lot of hope also for this election. So people's expectations are really high for these elections, really, really high. They're hoping that they change the government, they're hoping that things will change for them. It's almost like Independence Day all over again for Zimbabwe. Melinda.
Many thanks, our foreign affairs correspondent Amarachi Ubani, giving us an update on the situation in Zimbabwe. Now, oil output has hit its highest this year, and will be telling us why on Business News.
There's some business news tonight. Oil output from the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries has risen this month. That's its highest this year as Gulf members pumped more crude. The survey also shows that OPEC pumped 32.6 million barrels per day this month, and that's the highest also, up 70,000 barrels from June's revised level, with the supply from Nigeria up by 50,000 barrels per day, while new OPEC member Congo Republic added about 320,000 barrels. But just last month, OPEC and non-OPEC members, including Russia, agreed to return to 100% compliance with oil output cuts that began in January last year. And still talking oil, but the prices now, it rose above $70 a barrel today, with U.S. crude touching its best one-day gain in over 1 month. Analysts are saying that the oil market is getting support from rising tensions in the Middle East, an ongoing heavy crude shortage in Canada, and even an easing U.S.-EU trade tension. The contract for international bench crude Brent crude's September delivery was up 1.1% to $75.12 a barrel this evening, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude ended today's session up by 2.1% to $70.13 a barrel. Away from oil prices, 2 months after it agreed a $2.5 billion swap deal with the People's Bank of China, Nigeria's central bank has now sold the yuan at a range of 49 to 51 naira at its first auction of the Chinese currency. The yuan was sold today for immediate and 15-day settlement to encourage the use of an alternative trading currency to the US dollar due to the high level of imports from China. Last Friday, the CBN provided $340 million and 69 million Chinese yuan to customers seeking foreign exchange in the agricultural and raw materials sectors. Latest half-year earnings report from Tier 1 listed lender FBN Holdings shows that the company posted a satisfactory performance. The group's gross earnings grew by 1.4% to 286.7 billion in the first half of this year. But that's when you compare it to 282.7, which it posted in the same period last year. The company's profit before tax is up by 9.1%. Profit after tax rose by 13.7%, while earnings per share also rose by 13.7%. Its Tier 2 contemporary, we're talking about FCMB Group, also posted an impressive 8.3% growth in the gross earnings at 33.5 billion naira, 85.8% rise in its profit after tax, and 89.7% increase in both profit after tax and earnings per share. Let's find out how Nigeria's local equities market ended today. It's in the green. Great news for investors. It's sharing them already on the latest corporate earnings result released to the exchange. For today's trading figures, let's join Teniola Shibowale.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. The last 2 trading day of July opens the week upbeat, buoyed by a 4.98% rally from the oil and gas sector. The markets also responded to bargain hunting in blue chip stocks from the banking and the consumer goods sector, which pushed the all-share index up by 0.84% and added 112 billion naira to the total value of listed equities. Performance on the price chart remains positive, with 31 gainers led by a 10% increase from CPLAT against losers recorded by 20 equities, also led by a 10% drop by Con Oil. Total turnover for Monday stands at over 319.40 million units in 4,091 transactions, mainly contributed by the shares of Medview Airlines. And that's the Stock Market Report. I'm Teniola Shibowale.
And that's business news for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu. It's back to you, Melinda.